Hey there, Dango Stu here. In today's video, we're going to look at adjusting the height of the gear selector linkage on the Evinrude 150 because it's having a bit of trouble going into reverse. Before we do though, I've got another viewer t-shirt photo. So this one, I'm really embarrassed to say, I can't find the original message that it was sent to me in, so I don't have a name and a sort of hometown to, put it up properly with. So if you've seen this man at home in the mirror, that means it's you. So if this is you with the nice Apache attack helicopter in the background, I mean, it's got a propeller, I guess that's close to a boat. Yeah, send me a message, let me know your name and hometown again, and I'll put it up on the board properly. Sorry about that. So step one now is just to head out to the boat and pull the gearbox off. First step is just take the airbox off, and then we'll disconnect the shift linkage from under the carburetors. To do this, as I think we saw in one of the earlier videos, there's a pin back here that goes through the shift linkage that locks it in. So we need to push the rod this way towards the port. In order to do that, I'm going to take this cover off the carburetor here just to give myself a little bit of extra room. Now, I've changed my mind about taking this cover off. I'm actually going to try and take that whole bottom carburetor out because with the lower cowling on, it's a little bit tricky to get into. I think if we take the whole carburetor out, we can leave the lower cowling in place. The carburetor is held on by 4 3/8 bolts. There's also one Phillips head screw that holds the bottom. I forgot about that. Alright, that gives us loads of room now. So I'll just put these screws back in the cover before I lose them. And I'll show you what we're looking at now and how much more room there is. So this gives us loads of room now. There's an R-clip here we have to pull out, just here. I've disconnected this linkage here. So once that clips out, some pliers. There's actually a washer running along here that I'm presuming was supposed to be the other side of that R-clip, so that's something that'll be a little bit better than it was when I put it back together. I might actually even go and have a look at a parts diagram. Parts diagrams are great for figuring out the order these sorts of things go in, but it makes sense to me there should be a washer there. Anyway, what this means is we can now push this linkage across. Now that pin there is disconnected from the shift rod that goes down to the gearbox, and we can start unbolting the gearbox. Alright, we'll trim this gearbox up so we can slide it out. I'm going to take the trim tab anode off first. Now I'm just going to get the bolt that was under the anode. There's 3 bolts under here. There was one under the trim tab that I've undone. There's another smaller one which I believe holds the other anode in, so I'm going to leave that one and then just take the larger one just forward that. After that, we just got the 4 bolts around the casing. I can't get a socket onto this aft one, so I'm just going to use a spanner for this one. Alright, let's take it into the workshop and measure up this shift linkage.
The great thing about working on outboards is that everything's always easier than you think it's going to be and nothing ever really goes wrong, so that's good. Unusually in this case though, things have gone a bit wrong. The first thing I did when I got this gearbox on the bench was to remove the shift linkage entirely. You might remember in one of the really early videos, this is sort of the first OMC outboard I've really worked on, and the gearbox was actually C, so you could put the controls into reverse and it would take a lot of force, and people had been trying to get into reverse, but the shift linkage wasn't budging at all. And so when I looked at it, it's got that little kink on the end, and I'd sort of presumed that the force had been put on and actually managed to bend that section, which is incorrect. they're like that, that's by design. So I actually took it out and sort of put it back to the correct angle with a bit of heat and that sort of thing. And I was having a bit of trouble threading it back in to begin this process of measuring the length of it. So to cut a long story short, I then had trouble threading it in, so I took the little sort of O-ring carrier off the top here and noticed there's quite a bit of water in this gearbox oil, so we're also going to have to do all the seals. So down the very bottom there, you can see the little mechanism that pushes on the dog clutch to engage forward, reverse and neutral, and there's a little hole there that this rod threads into. Now that I can see in there, I'm going to slide the housing up on the shift linkage and I'm going to thread it while I can actually see it. Hopefully that'll help me thread it in properly, and then I'll seal the housing back down. I'll just clean the last few things where there's a bit of emulsified oil, just so it doesn't contaminate the new oil when we put that in. Once again, it's just a bit of brake cleaner. You can use plenty of things. Inside here, there's a little O-ring that ultimately we will replace, because I'm going to replace every way that water could have got into this gearbox. There's no easier time than when it's off. In the meantime though, to finish this video up, I am just going to pop a bit of grease on it. Now I've got this through, I'll just leave this housing a bit further up so I can see down and get this thread started. Alright, now that's started, I'll put this case back on. The gasket here didn't tear underneath here, but once again, it's really just for the purpose of this video, don't yell at me. I'll get new gaskets, new O-rings when we do the whole gearbox. So just work my way around these in a bit of a star pattern, just getting an even pressure on them so you don't distort the plate. Each outboard will have a different length specified for the shift rod, and it'll depend obviously on how many horsepower the outboard is and whether it's a short, long or extra long shaft motor. Evinrude sell this tool that's designed for measuring it. I don't have one of those, so we're just going to use a ruler and a right angle of some description. And then here are the measurements. We've got a 25-inch length here, so we're looking at being 667 millimeters, plus or minus 0.8 of a millimeter. You can also see here that it says we measure it with the shift rod in neutral, which obviously affects its effective length. And we have the offset facing forward. So if I push down, I'm locked in gear. You can see the drive shaft turning. If I lift it up a little bit, I can turn the prop really freely. Take my word for it. So I know I'm in neutral. We got the offset facing forward and we're in neutral, so we're ready to go. What I've decided to do in the end is to tape a drill bit onto this rule. So the drill bit there is centered on 667 millimeters, and because I can see it both sides, I can have a pretty good stab at it being perpendicular to the ruler itself. So I'm going to go pop this on and we'll see where we're at. So where we measure from is the little hole in the top of the shift linkage, so that's what I can actually put the drill bit through, and then we're measuring down to the surface of the gear case here, so not the top of this carrier or the oil seal here, but right down onto the metal of the gear case. Keeping the ruler straight up and down as parallel to the gear selector as I can see it's actually just a bit too high, which means the gear selector is currently too short. I've got to admit, I don't know where this was originally when it came off the motor because I took it out, but we do know that it's now too low. So I've got to wind it counterclockwise to raise it up. What being too low means is it's going to have trouble going into reverse, because to go into reverse it has to push down, and in order for that pin at the top under the carburetor to connect, I would have to lift it up to make it connect. So it's never going to push down as low as it should do whilst it's short. So I'll wind it counterclockwise and we'll measure it again. That was 2 turns then, and it still looks like it's 1 turn too low. So what we need is the ruler parallel to the shift linkage, straight up and down, and then at the top, at 667 millimeters, that drill bit pretty much dead center on the hole in the top of the shift linkage. So that's essentially what I wanted to show in this video, is the process for measuring the length of the shift rod. Theoretically, this should now go into reverse fine, in that there doesn't appear to be any problem with selecting gears in the gearbox itself. The forward controls seem to work well, the cables look good, so it should be okay. I can't test it directly because I am going to keep this off the boat until I've done all the oil seals as well. Although I'm happy now the measurement's 100% correct, I would say 95% of the problem was caused by me messing with the tip of this well before it went in the water. So, you know, bad me. So thanks for watching. Sorry, I know it's not a particularly long or perhaps satisfying video because we didn't get to see the outcome, but I am pushing on this Evinrude. I think we're going to see this a few more videos yet before it goes. By the time you're watching this, it'll be pretty early in the week. I'm just about to ride up to Byron Bay to go to the Blues Fest, so I'm looking forward to that, but it means I'm going to be away all weekend and a bit into next week, so might be a little bit hard to get to comments and that kind of thing, and there won't be another video out this weekend. This is the one I'm sort of doing for the weekend, so just so you know what's going on anyway. Alright, well take care, have a great Easter, and I'll catch you when you get back. See ya.